Hi, I'm Onyx. I've always believed family comes first, especially during the holidays. My wife Maya and I have three amazing kids, Ellie, Jordan, and little Zach, who look forward to the Big Patterson family Christmas every year at my parents' house. Well, they used to anyway. Daddy, when are we going to Grandpa's for Christmas? Ellie asked, her eyes bright with anticipation as she helped me hang ornaments on our modest tree. Actually, sweetie, I paused, unsure how to explain what I'd been told. We're having our own special Christmas here this year. But what about the cousins and Grandpa's famous hot chocolate? Jordan chimed in from the couch, looking up from his book. Maya shot me a look from the kitchen doorway. We'd agreed not to get into the details with the kids. Sometimes plans change, I said, ruffling his hair. It'll be fun, I promise. Later that night, after tucking the kids in, Maya and I sat at the kitchen table. You need to talk to your father, Maya said, stirring her tea. This is the third family event we've been excluded from this year. He said there wasn't enough room this time, I replied, though the excuse felt hollow even as I repeated it. Not enough room? Maya's eyebrows shot up. In that six-bedroom house, while your brother's four kids are all going? I know. The phone rang, interrupting our conversation. It was my sister, Samantha. Onyx, are you sitting down? Her voice sounded strained. What's wrong, Sam? I'm at Mom and Dad's helping with Christmas preparations. You need to know what's happening. I already know we're not invited, I said, trying to keep the bitterness from my voice. It's worse than that. I'm standing in the guest room looking at wrapped presents for Derek's kids. There's at least 20 packages here. What? I gripped the phone tighter, and I overheard Dad talking to Mom. He specifically said, Onyx's kids don't appreciate what we give them anyway, so why bother? I felt the blood rush to my face. Are you sure? Positive. And there's more. They've planned this ridiculous, elaborate Santa visit for Derek's kids. Custom stockings, the works. But they told me there wasn't room for us this year. That's complete garbage, Onyx. The real reason is that Dad's always favored Derek, and now he's extending that to the grandkids. It's sick. Dad said our kids were too rowdy last year, I said, remembering his complaint. Samantha laughed bitterly. Derek's youngest literally broke an antique vase last week when they visited, and Dad just said boys will be boys. This isn't about behavior. Maya was watching me intently, and I put the phone on speaker. There's something else, Samantha continued. I found the family gift list. Derek's getting that vintage watch collection you've always admired, and his wife's getting diamond earrings. You and Maya? Dad got you a $25 gift card to Applebee's. You're kidding me. I wish I was. This favoritism has gone too far, Onyx. Our kids are noticing. My daughter asked me yesterday why Uncle Derek's family gets special treatment. Maya leaned forward. Hi, Sam, it's Maya. What exactly did your father say about our children? His exact words were, Onyx needs to learn that the real world has winners and losers. Then he laughed and said, Derek's kids are going places. Onyx is, well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I felt like I'd been punched. My kids are 7, 5, and 3 years old. What kind of grandfather says that? A terrible one, Samantha replied firmly. And I'm not standing for it anymore. Neither should you. The next morning, I called my Uncle Frank, my father's older brother, and the family patriarch. If anyone knew the truth about my father's behavior patterns, it would be him. Uncle Frank, it's Onyx. I need to talk to you about Dad. Onyx, I was wondering when you'd call. Heard about the Christmas situation. I explained what Samantha had discovered. Listen, son, Frank's gravelly voice carried decades of family history. Your father's always played favorites. Did the same thing to your Aunt Rebecca back in the day. Practically drove her out of the family. But why? What did I ever do to him? Nothing. You remind him of your grandfather, principled, straightforward. Martin's always been threatened by people who don't play his games. Derek learned early to flatter and manipulate your father. You never did. So he's punishing my children because I don't kiss his ring? Essentially. But there's more to it. Your father's been rewriting his will every few years. Each time, Derek gets more, you get less. I nearly dropped the phone. The business too? Especially the business. The one you've worked at since you were 16. The one you helped build while Derek was off finding himself for a decade? How do you know this? Martin needed a witness last time. I refused to sign when I saw the terms, so he found someone else. But I saw enough. Maya, who had been listening, squeezed my hand. We need to talk to your Aunt Elaine, too. She's close to your dad. An hour later, we were sitting in Aunt Elaine's living room. This is ridiculous. Aunt Elaine huffed. Your father loves all his grandchildren equally. Then why weren't my kids invited to Christmas? I asked. Space constraints, obviously. In a 6-bedroom house? With a finished basement? Well, perhaps if your children were better behaved. My children are perfectly well behaved, Maya interjected sharply, and they're being discriminated against by their own grandfather. That's a terrible accusation. Elaine's face reddened. Is it? I pulled out my phone. I have photos from last Easter. Notice anything? All the Easter baskets for Derek's kids are overflowing with expensive gifts. My kids' baskets, plastic eggs and dollar store candy. And here's Thanksgiving, Derek's family at the main table. Where were we? The card table in the corner. Your father has his reasons. Yes, he does, I cut in. And it's not about space or behavior. It's about favoritism. Elaine's expression shifted. Fine, maybe Martin does favor Derek a bit, but that's his prerogative. Not when it hurts innocent children, Maya said firmly. On our way home, I called Samantha. I need your help. The annual family business meeting is next week. What are you thinking? She asked. I'm thinking it's time everyone sees exactly who my father is. Can you gather evidence of this pattern? Photos, emails, anything showing the favoritism? Already on it. And Onyx? Aunt Rebecca called me. She wants to help too. Perfect. Dad's never been held accountable. That changes now. The Patterson family business annual meeting always happened between Christmas and New Year's. As a 15% shareholder in the company my grandfather started, I had speaking rights. This year, I planned to use them. The meeting room was packed with extended family, many of whom were minor shareholders. Dad sat at the head of the table, Derek smugly beside him. I nodded to Samantha and Aunt Rebecca, who had positioned themselves strategically around the room. Before we discuss fourth quarter earnings, I said, standing up when recognized, I'd like to address a pattern of behavior that affects this company's future. Dad frowned. This isn't the time for personal matters, Onyx. Actually, it's precisely the time. I connected my laptop to the projector. This presentation is titled A History of Favoritism, How Martin Patterson's Personal Bias Threatens Our Family Legacy. The room went silent as I displayed the first slide, a chart showing the steadily decreasing allocation of company resources to my department, despite increasing performance metrics. What is this nonsense? Dad demanded, half rising. Documentation, I replied calmly. For the past 5 years, Derek's division has received triple the budget of mine, despite generating half the revenue. Derek laughed nervously. That's business strategy, not favoritism. Is this business strategy too? I clicked to photos of the empty spots under the Christmas tree, where my children's presents should have been, contrasted with the mountain of gifts for Derek's kids. Murmurs spread through the room. That's a private family matter. Dad slammed his hand on the table. Not when it reflects a pattern that extends to business decisions, Aunt Rebecca said, standing. Martin, you're doing exactly what you did to me 30 years ago. The difference, I continued, is that I have documentation of every instance where company resources were misallocated based on personal preference rather than business merit. You ungrateful, Dad started. Ungrateful? I let out a harsh laugh. I've worked here since I was 16, nights, weekends, holidays. I increased departmental revenue by 40% last year alone. Meanwhile, Derek's division has been hemorrhaging money on failed projects that you keep funding anyway. You're just jealous of your brother's vision, Dad snapped. Vision doesn't pay dividends, I replied. Results do. I've had enough of this. Dad stood, pointing at me. You're fired, effective immediately. The room erupted in gasps and murmurs. You can't fire a shareholder without board approval, Uncle Frank called out. And I believe this evidence warrants a full board review of your leadership, Martin. This is outrageous, Dad shouted. Derek, back me up here. Derek shifted uncomfortably. Dad, maybe we should discuss this privately. There will be consequences for this, Onyx, Dad hissed, his face contorted with rage. I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. I'll cut you out of the will completely. Your kids will get nothing. The room fell silent at his outburst. Thank you for making my point so clearly, I said quietly. Everyone here just witnessed what I've dealt with for years. 3 months later, I sat across from our family attorney, reviewing the results of the shareholder vote. Congratulations, Onyx, Miss Winter said, sliding the document across the table. The board has voted to restructure the company leadership. You'll be taking over as COO, with your Uncle Frank stepping in as interim CEO until a permanent replacement is found. And my father? Removed from operational control, though he retains his shares. The board was particularly disturbed by the documented pattern of nepotism and resource misallocation. I nodded, feeling a complex mix of vindication and sadness. And Derek? Reassigned to regional sales, reporting to the new VP of marketing. His division is under audit. As I left the office, I spotted my father waiting by my car. "Come to threaten me again?" I asked, keeping my distance. "I came to talk sense into you," he said, his voice lacking its usual authority. "This family feud has gone far enough. This isn't a feud, it's accountability. Onyx, I'm your father. I know I've been hard on you, but everything I did was to make you stronger." I laughed without humor. "Is that what you tell yourself? That excluding my children from Christmas was for their benefit?" "I may have misjudged some situations," he admitted reluctantly. "But we're family. We need to put this behind us." "Like you put my kids behind you?" "Sorry, that's not how this works." "I'm apologizing, damn it," he snapped, showing his true colors. "What more do you want?" I wanted a father who treated his grandchildren equally. I wanted a boss who valued merit over favoritism. I wanted neither, so I fixed the problem myself. "So that's it? Decades of family just thrown away?" "You threw it away, Dad, every time you chose Derek over me. Every time you hurt my children to elevate his. Actions have consequences." Dad's face hardened. "You'll regret this." "No, I don't think I will." That evening, we had the family over for dinner. Samantha and her kids, Uncle Frank, Aunt Rebecca, and several cousins who'd supported us. "To new beginnings," Uncle Frank toasted, raising his glass. Ellie tugged at my sleeve. "Daddy, is Grandpa ever going to come to our house again?" The table quieted, everyone looking at me. "Grandpa made some choices that weren't very nice," I explained gently. "And until he can be kind to everyone in this family equally, we're going to give him some space." "Like a timeout?" Zach asked innocently. The adults chuckled. "Something like that, buddy." "Will we ever see our cousins?" Jordan asked, concern in his young eyes. "That's up to your aunt and uncle," I said, glancing at Samantha. "But I hope so. Family is important, real family, the kind that supports each other." Later, as Maya and I cleaned up after everyone left, she wrapped her arms around me. "You know what I realized?" she said. "You broke the cycle. Your dad chose favorites among his children and grandchildren. You refused to let that continue." I nodded, thinking about the future my children would now have, one where merit mattered more than manipulation, where family meant genuine support rather than conditional approval. "Have you ever wondered why some people can't see the damage they cause until it's too late?" I asked. "Or if they ever truly see it at all?" Maya considered this. "I don't know, but I do know our children will grow up understanding what real family loyalty looks like thanks to you. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't about making someone suffer. It's about building something better from the wreckage they left behind. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Would you have confronted the favoritism head on or found another way to address it?"